Yeah, and one thing that comes to mind when you look at the low interest rates that they're offering here is a potential arbitrage opportunity for Metaplanet, because what they could do is issue those shares. With the proceeds, they can buy Bitcoin, of course, but they could also buy a product like STRC in dollar terms, and then they pay the dividends with half of the proceeds that they get, and the remaining 6% they put into Bitcoin.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Chair. None of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Hi, everyone. All right, today let's talk about Metaplanet. They just released in the course of the week their new preferred, Mercury. And here we can show maybe a quick slide where we took all the key terms and put them together into a simplified table. So a few key takeaways. Let's start at the top. The issue price will be 900 yen per share. The notional amount of 1,000 yen per share. We already knew that was a perpetual. The annual dividend, 4.9%. I think that's very interesting for the Japanese markets. And then the conversion terms. So convertible 1-to-1 into a common share at the strike price of 1,000 yen. And then they are planning to raise approximately $130 million. So maybe let's start with the dividend, which I think is super interesting because that's just going to disrupt the Japanese market. I mean, we see over the last few days that the yen is crumbling and that they will probably have to step in. The yields are incredibly low. So the market is just bound for disruption. And I think Metaplanet is in a great place to do that. So extremely fired up for that. And maybe also on the convertibility from my end, I think the 1,000 strike price seems like a really good deal for one share of Mercury. So especially considering the price right now, we're sitting close to 400 or a bit below 400 yen per share. So quite interesting terms in my opinion. And I'll leave it at that. Maybe Quentin, a few initial thoughts.
Yeah, so it looks like this one is a close instrument to STRK from Strategy, with the convertibility into common equity there. The interesting thing is that it's not 10-to-1 like Strike would be for Strategy, but it's a 1-to-1 conversion. So I think more attractive in that sense. Yeah, you can see that why those preferreds will be a great success for a company like Metaplanet, because the annual dividend is half or less than half than what Strategy has to pay, because it's in the Japanese market, right? They don't need to offer a yield that is double digit like they would have to in US dollar terms. So that's probably one of their main advantages also in the long term, is to be able to issue these instruments at a very low interest rate compared to the competitors in other markets like the euro or dollar markets.
The convertibility 1-to-1 is very interesting because the price or the strike price seems quite low. So the strike price should be attained should the Metaplanet common stock rise. We're not too far from this strike price. So that's an interesting conversion price.
Yeah, the question is same as for Stripe. Why would you, even if you are in the money, why would you convert? Because the common stock does not give you any dividend. So you would probably continue to hold it, but then it would appreciate like the equity, like the common equity would at this point, right? So you have all of the upside of the equity and the dividend on top of that.
Yeah. I think we need to, the same as with Strike, we will need to deep dive a bit further and to understand this product better, because it's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and one thing that comes to mind when you look at the low interest rates that they're offering here is a potential arbitrage opportunity for Metaplanet, because what they could do is issue those shares. With the proceeds, they can buy Bitcoin, of course, but they could also buy a product like STRC in dollar terms, and then they pay the dividends with half of the proceeds that they get, and the remaining 6% they put into Bitcoin. And this is basically not risk-free, but a low-risk strategy to take advantage of this yield disparity. It's kind of like the yen carry trade, but version 2. And very interesting also that they would be borrowing in yen and then investing it in dollars, and the yen is over time also losing value versus the dollar. So it might be an interesting opportunity for them as well. I don't know if they want to go into those games, or if it's going to be Bitcoin only, but something that comes to mind here, looking at those the yield differences.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take. And when you mentioned the arbitrage, I was exactly thinking the carry trade with the yen, and that's definitely something that could be doable. Now the question is whether the investor base would like that, right? Do you want to have another product from another Bitcoin treasury company? Obviously, Strategy is the leader, and they're also very lean in terms of the Bitcoin strategy. So they're basically a pure play when you look at the big picture. Regardless, I think probably that's a question that Simon and Dylan may have to ask themselves. What's the best use of their proceeds? Huh?
Because currently, what are they guiding to put like 25% leverage through those preferreds, and that makes sense if you have Bitcoin as an underlying with high volatility. But if you think about investing part of it or all of it into STRC, the volatility would be dampened. So you could lever up a lot more with the preferreds. You could almost go 1-to-1 and still be backed. And secure. So yeah, just some thoughts. Wonder how it will evolve.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's all about a bit of risk management, how they want to see this, right? You have to create probably some models to see what's the best allocation of their capital, and probably STRC gets into the picture because, as you mentioned, it dampens volatility, and you have assured cash flows that comes from it, and still be able to buy Bitcoin with it. Yeah, and maybe coming back to the total raise, which is 130 million for Mercury, and they're looking to raise approximately the same for Mars. So that's 260 million USDs worth of raises, and that means that they would be able to accumulate another 3,160 Bitcoin at today's prices. So that's approximately 10% of their current stash. So that's another big chunk of accumulation for Metaplanet, and stepping back up onto their accumulation machine. So that's a neat thing to see, I think.
Yeah, it shows that because they are a lot smaller than Strategy, the release of those preferreds has a way bigger impact on their overall stack and their Bitcoin per share increase, as it was the case for Strive and when they released Zeta, right? And I think what's interesting also in the note is that those 150 million, it's a pre-IPO financing round. So I don't know what this means in detail, but pre-IPO sounds like might be an actual IPO financing round that is even higher. So more funds that are raised before they go public. So might be even more dry powder here for Metaplanet to accumulate more Bitcoin. Then maybe on Mars, we haven't touched on it too much. We don't have a table yet because it's a bit more unclear what the product will look like. What we know though is Mars stands for Metaplanet Adjustable Rate Security, so we know it will be a preferred that is closely related to STRC from Strategy, with a price that they will try to fix at a certain level, and variable dividend rates to make sure the price stays kind of stable. So this is what Strive decided to release as a first preferred. It's Strategy's most successful preferred so far, and that's what the Metaplanet now also wants to release for the Japanese market. So I think this one will be a very interesting one too. And interestingly, it is higher in the capital stack than Mercury.
I'm looking forward to the key terms of Mars to see what they come up with, and also what annual dividend rate they start with, as well as just looking at how they're planning to keep it at par, right? Because as you mentioned, SETA from Strive had some different features than from STRC, and it looks like these companies are all trying to innovate in their own way, and probably for the Japanese market, it might be different. So really curious to see if there's any nuances there.
Then maybe one additional announcement from Metaplanet, and is that they changed their strategy around their moving strike warrant program, which is also a positive news, I think, for the shareholders, because the changes they made basically hires the floor at which they're able to release additional shares. So there's one portion that has a floor of 800 yen, and then a second one where the floor is 900 to 1,000 yen. So this basically means that the shareholders will not get diluted any further under those prices, and this hopefully also should stabilize the price of the equity going forward.
And yeah, I think here the one thing that we're left is obviously with the questions for Mars, but also what's the plan for Project Nova? I think we haven't heard too much about it. So Metaplanet has been cooking some pretty cool stuff, and yeah, I think we're all looking for further communications from Dylan and Simon on that front.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe it's a big opportunity for them now to release those preferreds in the next weeks and months. With the depressed Bitcoin prices, they'll be able to accumulate a lot more. And if it turns around sometime soon, then Metaplanet is super well positioned. If we get a prolonged bear market, maybe it will take longer for it to turn around. But yeah, exciting news, and it looks like they're really executing super well still. With those preferreds, it's very encouraging to see.
All right, so that's all we had for you today on Metaplanet. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.
Bye bye, everybody. See you next time.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?